Tales of the Shire is a new cozy game from Weta Workshop. Yes, the same Weta Workshop that brought us the incredible Lord of the Rings movie franchise. The game's release suffered a considerable delay, which caused frustration in many fans awaiting the opportunity to live their best Hobbit life. Others, however, were ready to forgive the delay, provided they were given a more polished game than what we saw 6 months ago in the review release. But has it been worth the wait? I'm Mo, and in this video I'm going to give my first impressions of Tales of the Shire. What you want to know, what you need to know, and what you should be aware of. I've had access to Tales of the Shire for around 4 days now, and have put every spare moment I have into the game. In case you don't know anything about me, let me preface this review with a disclaimer. I am a huge Tolkien fan and mega nerd. I love all the books, the movies, the entire world. But that doesn't mean I automatically love all the video games. If anything, it makes me more critical, and I'll be honest, although I've been extremely excited for this game, I was very worried it would be a flop. With my Lord of the Rings fanboy side out of the way, let's talk about my love for cozy games. I don't generally love cozy games, which might come as a surprise to a lot of you who know me from my Stardew content. I absolutely adore Stardew Valley, but other games that resonate with a similar audience, such as Parlia, Disney Dreamlight Valley, and Animal Crossing, did not interest me at all. I tried them, but was very quickly put off for whatever reasons. The graphical style of Tales of the Shire reminded me more of those games rather than Stardew, and that was another reason I was concerned about how the game would be. Okay, with all that backstory out of the way, let's talk about what Tales of the Shire is actually like. You play a hobbit living in the Shire. You start your journey meeting a familiar face and moving to the area of Bywater from the village of Bree, and starting a new life for yourself. After playing for 4 days straight, it seemed to me that there are two main goals of this game: friendship and decorating. In true Hobbit fashion, the way to a halfling's heart is through their stomach, which means the game is heavily food oriented. You learn recipes, you grow, forage and fish for ingredients, cook meals, and then invite neighbours over for dinner parties. It seems simple, and honestly, it is. For me, that's where its charm lies. It isn't overly complicated with lots of things to do, places to go, goals to complete, and so on. You can wake up in the morning, write letters to your neighbours, inviting them over for dinner. The next day they will RSVP and tell you what food they're craving. You then have the day to get what you need together and cook them the meals they want to increase your friendship levels. A game where you get to grow and cook your own food, and then throw dinner parties every day for your local community, whilst never actually having to interact with real humans? Take my money. By increasing your friendship levels, the villagers will give you new recipes and gifts. And, as you hit level milestones, you'll unlock new interactions with your friends. For example, there'll be new items available in their shops. Of the gifts they give you, some will be food, but others will be decorative items. Which brings us to the other goal of the game: decoration. If you've played The Sims, you'll know that decorating in that game is more infuriating than Dark Souls. In Tales of the Shire, it's anything but. It's so simple, intuitive, and enjoyable. The freedom to make things look how you want is wild, and the higher your friendship, the more furniture and decorative items you receive as gifts. The farming and fishing in the game is pretty self-explanatory. The cooking, however, has a little more going on under the hood. The purpose of this video is just to be a review of the game, and not a guide of how to play it. But look out for my guide video, which will be dropping on July 29th, the day the game is released. I'll put a link to it in the description below when it becomes available. I'm just going to show you some of the gameplay on screen now as I get into the nitty-gritty details of the game. Currently, at the time of recording this review, the only price available is that of the physical editions, which can be pre-ordered. The PS5 and Nintendo Switch editions of the game appear to cost around $40, which is pretty standard for a new cozy game these days. I would expect the Steam price to be quite similar. One of the concerns people had about the game was what additional costs they may incur. Is there an in-game store? Do you have to pay for more items? I can happily say that there's no such thing for Tales of the Shire. I don't know if there will be a DLC down the line, and if that will be an additional cost, but currently there's no in-game currency for vanity items or anything like that. every item in the game you can get through playing the game. The game is also a single-player adventure, and as much as I'd like to join my friends in the Shire, there are sadly no plans to make this a multiplayer game. Now let me briefly tell you about my favourite things, and things I've had issues with. As I've already said, I love the cooking and the decorating. They are some of the main reasons I wanted this game. The fact that time stops when you're cooking and decorating means you can take as long as you want doing these things without having to worry about the day ending. If you've watched other reviews or footage from the game, you'll know about the birds. These birds are the Shire's answer to GPS. Instead of having to constantly keep your map open, you mark where you want to go and follow these cute blue birds. They'll take you where you need to be. It doesn't take long to get used to how to follow them around, and before you know it, you'll have memorized the map pretty quickly. I also really love the niche Lord of the Rings book references in the game, which I'll talk about a bit later on. Many people will also love that the game places no emphasis on player gender. Right from the character creation screen, there's no gender selection, and all faces, hairstyles, body shapes and outfits are fluid and interchangeable. Throughout the game, they/them pronouns are used for the main character. Finally, and most importantly of all, I really love this little guy. I'm sorry, but what? I need this duck in my life forever. Honestly, it's worth the cost of the game alone just to be able to greet them every day. It's not all rainbows and butterflies though, although the butterflies in the game are pretty cute. The gameplay was not without its glitches, despite the delayed release. I had around 5 game crashes in 4 days. You can save the game anywhere you want, but there's no quick save button, so I was constantly going to the menu to save the game in case it crashed on me again. I have contacted Weta with details of the crashes, and there are already patches on the way, so hopefully by release most of these will have been sorted out. A couple of other niggly things that bothered me were the inability to advance time or sleep whenever you wanted to go to the next day. Let's say you've done everything you need to do and it's still morning. You can't just go to sleep to get to the next day. You have to wait until at least evening. So you have to kind of find things to occupy your time during the day. On the opposing side of this, however, it did force me to explore the village a lot more, and that ended up being quite beneficial. The other thing that bothered me was that some quests looked as though they could be completed, but actually they were dependent on another open quest to be completed first. Now that's not uncommon in a lot of games, but the problem was that in this one it doesn't tell you that. You just think the game is broken. It's not broken, it just lacks a clear order of events sometimes. Finally, a concern I still have is about the length of the game. It's really nice to have a game where you can decorate, cook and host dinner parties every day. But to what end? Is there a greater purpose? And is there more to be unlocked as you progress? I appreciate I've only played for a few days so far, so I don't know what the game has in store. But for $40 I'm hoping there's plenty of hours of gameplay ahead. I'm also a little worried about the replay value of the game. The tutorial of the game is very long and I don't know if I'd want to do it every single time I start a new game. But given that you can save at any point and change your character completely, including your name, whenever you like, maybe you don't need to restart over and over again. Okay, so let's talk about who this game is for. Who should grab a copy of this game when it's released and who will actually enjoy it? Well, if you like cozy games generally, where you don't want to feel rushed or overwhelmed, then this is for you. There is a lot of hand-holding in the game, with the introduction being quite long and prescriptive before you really get some autonomy to do what you want. Things are unlocked bit by bit, so you don't have a chance to get inundated with trying to learn all the game mechanics at once. I would argue it's maybe a little too hand-holdy. However, that would certainly suit some people, especially younger players. My daughter is 7 and she can play this game alone without needing to call on me at all, which is impressive considering I'm 41 and the game entertains me as well. Next, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings and have a particular affinity to hobbits, and who doesn't, well then you'll probably really enjoy this game. In true Weta style, as with the Lord of the Rings movies, the attention to detail is incredible. The recipes they've chosen, the ingredients available, the outfits, the decoration and so on feel like they're pulled directly out of Tolkien's vision of the Shire. For the nerds out there, the game is set between the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and if you know the books and the movies well, there are plenty of Easter eggs and notable mentions in the dialogue. Because they've delved deep into the books and not just referenced the more famous parts of the movies, It doesn't feel like cheap lip service for the fans. There's some references in there that the hardcore Tolkien nerds will really enjoy, and it makes you feel as though they've really respected the source material. Overall, I've been enjoying Tales of the Shire immensely. If you're keen to get a taste of the game before you buy it, I'll be live streaming the game every night from the day of release on the 29th of July for a week. There's a link to the first live stream in the description below. I really hope you've enjoyed this brief look at the game. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments below, or check out the community Discord server, which has a specific channel for Tales of the Shire. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you again next time.